Hello, everybody, and welcome to our after church tea time. We will be delving into the messages shared by Adam and Brianne in their sermon on our lives being eternal and the lessons that they have received in the process of Adam's mother transitioning, and also just from previous stories that they've heard from other people or read about from other people. So I'd like to introduce the panel. My name is Granville Campbell. We have Yoreen with us and we have Hannah with us. So thank you for joining me today. And thank you to everybody that's following us. So I think one of the things that I want to just launch directly into is, and I think it's probably more the second part of their sermon than the first part. So the thing around communication stood out for me quite significantly. And it's not that we don't communicate or that we haven't communicated, it just kind of hits home again differently all the time as you hear the message. But I think hearing it from the unionist perspective kind of hit home differently. And it stood out for the reason that it's kind of that the strong message is don't wait. Do it now. Now's a good time to live in the present. Now's a good time to share the love. And it was just something that stood out for me quite a bit from the sermons. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
Yeah, I think there was a lot around oneness in general. And I think it was very timely to have this sermon, because I guess what we're healing as a community and healing for the world truly is that sense that we're separated instead of like being one with each other. And I think I see it more and more in my experiences. It's like everything is a communication from God through my brothers and sisters. And so, it's like, almost like, Adam and Bria shared, that experience from Adam's mom through her transition, but they also shared that they healed right alongside her. And I think by sharing it with us, we're healing right alongside them too. So it's funny. And it's also a huge blessing that we can like heal that and discover that, way before our times of death, hopefully, that was my sense. But it's just a huge blessing, and also not a coincidence that we had this sermon today.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that there. And it was bringing up for me that as we're talking about death, or like, I love how they called it just an experience, and how by talking about it with one another, like we're healing the consciousnesses, like feelings and beliefs around it. And like by Brianne and Adam sharing their story about Adam's mom, I really felt like I was able to heal more deeply any like fears that I had around death and like around transitioning, and was able to remind myself and just choose again life and choose again loving in this lifetime. And like, it was really nice to have that reminder of we don't have to wait, and it really is just a choice. And with the story of the woman in like the black prison, that really hit me, and how God said to her, this was what you chose. And that hit me again, that life is really like the choice. And I love how Jeff and Shaleia talk about death as a choice, and how we can really choose life and choose to live authentically. And I really loved that part of it.
Yeah, awesome. I think that that sense of the prison that you're talking about also, I just like when like you hear it and you know it, and we've gone through this so many times, and I just feel like it just kind of, again, it's sunk in differently in that our choice is actually quite eternal, that our choice does follow us. So that sense of the thought process in your consciousness that follows you through your consciousness, that follows you through transitioning between realms, between experiences and things like that, just cements it again. It kind of says, it's like it's that thing that I think that we learned as kids. Be careful what you wish for, little mouth. And it's like, this is like, be careful what you think of, big brain. Like, actually choose wisely. And I think we've learned this, and it's been shared so many times, that our choice is that powerful. And sometimes we tend to actually forget it. And so I agree with you, Yareen, that it was very fortuitous for this message to come through again today, just to allow us to ground back into really the core of truth here. And it's something that came through in the card reading as well. That deep power of acceptance, but also knowing that it's okay to choose, to make new choices in the places where you may not have known better before.
Yeah.
That's the good part. That's like the really cool part.
It is cool. And it's so joyful to realize that you have a choice to change it right now. And I think what you were saying about the choice and not waiting resonated quite a few times during the sermon, and it tied up as well with Jose and Michaela's sermon. I think it was last week, when Jose said that basically, for him, like, God was like, I'll be with him later when I die or something. I love God, but it's far away. And so, the beautiful thing with unionism is that you can choose God right now. And the same goes with that first woman story. Instead of having still the effects of her negative thinking about the other's afterlife, and the impact of her choice to put barriers to a relationship after life when she's transitioning, what unionism and definitely allow us to do is to change it in our consciousness right now. So even though like our choice is powerful and basically choose wisely, you also have like this constant miracle of saying, I can change right now. I don't have to wait for death and to meet God in afterlife, so to speak. I can choose this right now. And so, I do think it's really cool. And it's also, I think it makes my heart feel lighter, and I think it explains why death shouldn't be such an experience of fear, and that we shouldn't fear it, and that we can, just because in our hearts and minds we can choose differently today,
Yeah, and I love unionism and the teachings of every single thing is in our reality we can control and create through our choice. And I also loved when they were mentioning that Earth is a school, because I feel like, that also really, like, I've heard that before, and I really love that concept, because it takes the whole pressure of like having to like do it yourself, and just, I don't know, it kind of takes away that pressure of having to do it yourself for me, because if you realize it's a school, you're constantly learning, your teachers are all around you, then it's like it's a really peaceful feeling to realize like it's a constant evolution, and like I came here to learn and to learn more about love, and to to not just wait until death to experience that. And I feel like through these teachings, I'm so grateful for them, because they really, I think they mentioned in the sermon, like they give us like a clear foundation of the truth that we can start to live in our reality. And yeah, it's really helped me to realize every single day I'm learning new lessons and grounding deeper into love, and that the more I'm loving myself, it's not going anywhere. I'm not putting it somewhere to experience it after death. I'm putting it into my reality and into the consciousness for the whole world to experience. Like, as I love myself, that love is radiating into the whole consciousness for everyone. And so I love that piece. I really feel like they really described well the oneness of consciousness today, especially with Brianne and Adam's mom, and how they had been experiencing the same thoughts in their minds as she was when she was transitioning. And yeah, that was really profound for me.
Yeah, and I like that you brought that up and shared it with us, because one of the things that just stood out to me when you said, it's really cool that I can just accept it as a school and my teachers are all around me. And the thing that just stood out for me was that, and then I can let myself off the hook, because I don't have to have it all figured out immediately. And that's such a more comfortable, more peaceful space to be in. Because when you're at school, you don't expect yourself to know everything. You're kind of learning and you're figuring it out. And yes, you're going to make your mistakes. But even through the mistakes, you learn. And I think one of the things that we tend to forget about being in a state of learning is that it takes us out of a state of fear. And that's something that I kind of learned through my coaching lessons and stuff like that, is when you're in a state of learning, you generally tend not to be in a state of fear, because you are more of an open book. You're more open to actually receiving. And so that state of learning just allows you to relax, which is something I think we probably need to just remind ourselves of. That as we're learning, we are able to relax more, but we need to give ourselves the permission to be in a state of learning more often than not. I think that, and that's something that and I know I've grown out of it. I grew out of it. You know, you can kind of get to a point in your life and in your career where people expect you to have the answers. And I always just say to my team, well, I actually don't have the answer. Nobody gave me a book that said these are the answers. But if you come to me with options, we can definitely try and find a way. Come to me with options and we can rip them apart to find the most reasonable approach. But if you come to me looking for an answer, it's highly unlikely that you're going to find it here, which always tended to freak people out, because they're like, oh, you should know. I'm like, yeah, but I also shouldn't. Like, if I give you all the answers, when do you actually find solutions for yourself? I'm not saying you must do it by yourself. I'm saying come with options. Let's discuss the options. Let's see what is really happening here and what we can really do. And I think that's probably the thing that allowed me to relate to them a little bit more easily, because I could understand the thought process. I could understand, or I could pick apart the solution to understand the thought process, and then kind of highlight where they may have missed out on things. But I think that state of learning allows us to be able to do that. Because also, again, it's very important to let yourself off the hook. And I'm not saying make excuses for your crap. I'm saying let yourself off the hook, in that actually you are in a learning state, you're in a learning space. You can relax and just allow yourself to be open. And being open probably allows you to receive more than you would if you didn't.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that this learning state sounds, as you described it, as as a state of surrender, I would say. Because in that state of surrender, I feel like you can receive more love and support. And sometimes it may not look the way you expected it to look, but it's still love and support. And you need to be able to be open, to stay open to that love, and to stay open to that communication through everything in your life. And the other part of it that you were mentioning, about having all the answers or not, I feel like what you said to these people kind of helped them recalibrate their life, and also communicated to them that actually your source is God, and that you're not doing it alone, but it has to be. Sometimes it gets a little bit messy. Sometimes it's you're facing the unknown, but it doesn't mean that you do this all alone in your cave. You never do this all alone, and that's what the sermon was communicating as well. Is that it's hard sometimes. It's lessons. You make mistakes. You're not perfect yet. You're not in perfect union with God, but you are in this with your fellow human beings, and so you're very much safe, and death doesn't exist. Like, there is no reason to have fear in that place, because you'll be a forever student, and it's okay to accept that, and it's okay to accept that sometimes it doesn't look too good, but you will make it. And you just have to choose there, because Granville is like laughing, but yeah.
No, I'm laughing because it's literally that thing about backing yourself into a corner and not realizing that you have.
Right. And it doesn't help you, because you will have to heal it in your other life and after you transition anyway. So might as well do it now.
Yeah, I love that. I was just thinking about when, I think it was Brienne who said, kind of once you take away the fear of death, it's like, why not? Why not ascend? And like, why not awaken? And why not work and put your energy towards healing yourself? And like, that was like, oh, I was like, yeah, like kind of once I, like at the beginning of my life, I was kind of in a lot of fear with my brother was sick. And so there was a lot of fear in the consciousness of my household. And so looking back, I realized like now that I'm out of that, and I realize life is kind of a lot less serious than I thought it was. It doesn't feel as scary to just like face the experiences and the events that that caused me pain in the past, because I know that love is waiting for me in this lifetime on the other side of the healing. And I really loved how she said that, kind of in a really beautiful way of like, what else is there to do other than work on healing yourself? And then that automatically is helping your brothers and sisters along the way. And I love that.
Yeah, and I think the thing that stood out for me was, as you said, just like the sense of making that oneness more real. Like we've talked about this, the collective consciousness all the time, and it still feels like when you say collective, it's a whole lot of individuals. But when you say oneness, it kind of takes away that boundary of individuality. And I'm not saying that we don't exist as individuals, but that oneness just kind of makes it more clear. It's kind of like the boundaries actually feel like they really do or have just fallen away. There's just a greater sense of less separation. In fact, there's probably a greater sense of no separation using oneness as a term, and just really feeling into what that oneness feels like or even would feel like. Because I feel like sometimes as we go through things, we create the sense of what that feeling is in order to feel it. And it's something that comes through in Jeff and Shaleia's meditation, that your thought, your imagination is energy. And so I feel like just even seeing the truth more clearly, or seeing the picture that you want to see, the picture that you want fulfilled, means you're actually putting energy into it. You are actually energizing it, which is something that we probably could consider practicing more. And it's definitely something that I need to consider just settling more into. And I think we do that naturally when we do meditations and things like that, but it's almost not necessarily a way of life just yet. And I feel like it could definitely become more of a way of life, because we are energizing the picture that we want. And it's something that I learned a while ago, is that your mind actually responds to words and pictures. So if you're creating the picture of what you're wanting, your physiology will respond to it. Your physiology will go in the direction of it. And that's kind of the power that we have, that we don't realize we're sitting with. And we probably need to own our power more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the last few weeks and days of Adam's mom illustrate that very well. And Adam, I think, said that when she started transitioning, she started choosing life and in various ways. And at first, when I heard that, I was like, it's a weird way to put it, but I think the fact that she had like several like death scares, that she survived and that she was like stronger than ever, like the next morning, that she started working for her upsets, that she started like healing with Adam's like gentle guidance and coaching, and also the songs that she shared are like amazing. And the fact that she naturally knew that what she wanted to share with the world was a song about I wish I knew how to communicate my emotions to others and open up, and why do we wait? It's like she kind of like in the last moment understood like the power of her being, and how her life is actually eternal, and how she's helping consciousness and also maybe her divine mission and message to the world, and that she was never separated from this desire to be in union in every part of her life. She just didn't know it, but it came out naturally when she made that choice. And I think that's something that is very beautiful, and that it struck me, how she, it just like, as you said, like, I think we don't recognize the amount of power that we have sometimes, and that we're one with God, like we're literally like the one child of God, and that the desire for union and the knowing of union, the feeling, it's always in us. And yeah, we just need to embrace it and live from that place, basically.
Yeah, and like the whole sermon got me pretty motivated of like, there is no reason to wait. And even with the stories of life after death, I love how God simply came through and said, I am. And yeah, I love that. I know that's in the Bible too. And I feel like that's so powerful. And I feel like he says that like for a reason, to like to show us like we can all say I am, and we can all like stand in our power and like claim it in this lifetime, and like we don't have to wait until we meet God and he gives us permission or anything, because by him simply creating us, that is our permission to be and to say I am, and to really claim our power, and like that there just really is no reason to wait until after we die to you know experience that. And yeah, in every moment we can really make the choice to like say I am for ourselves, and make the choice that's aligned with God's will for our life, and with that continue healing ourselves and healing the world. And there's another thing, and with God in the same room as the woman after she came back, and how he was still there. I thought it was so powerful when he just said, I'm always with you, I'm always here. And like that really struck me, because like even if he's not showing us a visual representation of him like right here and now, like he's literally always with us and speaking through us. And yeah, it brings me a lot of comfort and peace.
Yeah, that is really cool. And you know, something that really stood out for me, and it's something that I healed through with Brianne, because she's my coach. She's my coach. So we healed through this in this past week. It's just that sense of kind of living life, but not completely choosing life. And it was just like, it was, you know, it was almost bizarre to find that sense of not completely choosing life, even though I'm doing life and living life. I wasn't quite choosing life. And the thought that came through in that process of healing was the freedom that follows through once the healing integrates. And so I think it's just, and I think it speaks to, again, it speaks to the first song that they shared with us in Nina Simone's words, saying, I wish I knew how to be free. And yes, she may have been speaking to a past where there was a lack of movement, there was lots of racial tension and those kind of things. And there was a lot of fight around people's, you know, just defining women's rights, getting equal rights much more entrenched in society. But it also, at the core of it, that sense of, I wish I knew how to be free. I was like, what does that really mean? Because it means something quite powerful. Because that sense of freedom really does give you the confidence to choose life. It gives you the confidence to do life in a way that says, I am not putting myself under constriction. I'm not placing boundaries on myself in terms of truly living. And I kind of just, you know, just as I was sitting through the sermon and thinking and feeling into it, it's like, it's quite profound when you just take that sentence and you ask yourself, well, what does it really mean for me? And what do I do with this once I find the answer? Because as we know, as unionists, there's the healing part, and then there's an action part that you always follow through on. It's kind of, and life presents you these opportunities where like, okay, so you made this choice. Let's see if you're sticking to it. Let's see if that's still your choice. And it does sometimes feel like a test, but it often comes through.
I think the feeling I have is like, I guess when we fear death, I think we fear living life fully. And that's, I think, what you were referencing. And I see it playing out in my life, in learning how not to be scared when life gets, you know, moving fast, when sometimes it feels a little bit messy. And as my coach would say, Michaela, Like Jeff always says that, relationships are messy, and relationships are literally the core of our existence. And it's okay. Like, if they were perfect, we would all be in perfect union. But it's okay to experience this mess and also experience the communication that there is within the mess, I guess. And sometimes it may be hard, like we may want to shut down because of our fear. But I think what I meant to say is that the goal is to see that there is always love in every situation. What is the truth? What is the core? And maybe sometimes you need to take some time out and think about it for yourself and decipher it and heal through it. And then you say, like, God, what is the message for me there? And maybe sometimes it comes through immediately, but there is always like this underlying message of like life and love. And what do you choose? Basically, where do you put your alliance, in life or in death? And realizing where you choose fear and just letting that go. And I think like the work, the teachings of union help us do that. In every way, it's like our day could be ruled by love, just by being and just by embodying the teachings, watching a class and cooking divine dish and cleaning the house and volunteering and participating in these discussions and just connecting with people that believe in the same things as you. All of this is life, and all of this you can embrace pretty easily, and you will find that the answers to your question will be in all these things that you do all day. And I think that's really beautiful. And that's something that I learned fairly recently, or maybe went deeper with fairly recently. I think it's a blessing in itself just to be, like, as Hannah was saying, like this phrase of I am. And in this I am, you can like expand into like infinite possibilities of life. I find this really beautiful. So yeah, the whole sermon was like just this beautiful message of life, truly.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I love that. And that's so true how God, we truly are with God in our every single moment, like, of our life, and washing the dishes or like watching a class. And I'm so grateful these teachings have given me like it's like a direct hotline, like, to God in a way. Like whenever there's like a moment that, I'm thinking, oh, what can I be doing with my day right now? Like a class always comes to my mind. It's like the first thing to do, because I know, like, in that moment, like, it's a direct communication with God. And that has also expanded into, like I was saying, every moment being that, like making breakfast or dinner or lunch and cooking, cleaning, taking a shower. I've really started to embody like my relationship with God in those like subtle little moments, and like appreciating them like just as much as like the big ones, like a wedding or like a big celebration. Like, like I really love that now, just like a morning cup of coffee and having a simple moment of gratitude with that. It's like I know and feel God with me, and like it's not like it's like I'm so grateful to be in this place where I know there is no separation, and that I'm healing the separation consciousness, and that in the moments of knowing and feeling God, I feel so grateful to be able to just trust in that and like accept that, and to know like the I am presence is here, and it's not going anywhere. It's only going to keep expanding and into different areas of my life that maybe I wasn't ready for him to be there with me yet, even though he was. But then, a new day comes and I realize God in a new moment and in a new way. And yeah, I love God.
That's really awesome. That's like, like it's just a reminder to kind of unclutter your mind and realize that there is nothing, literally nothing, that God cannot be present for in your life. So that's quite cool. It's just like, it's just like, calm down, relax. It's literally when your friend is there going, relax, it's okay, relax, it's okay. And you just realize that actually, well, that can be God. That can be God in every single moment of every single day. So it's like it's really cool to just be reminded to even enjoy God in the simple things.
Yeah, I think. Oh, sorry.
Now, I was just going to check in with you guys, see how you're feeling. Do you feel like we're getting to a place where, okay, maybe you're in because you were going to share something more, so you're not not getting to that point just yet. Okay.
No, yeah, I was just feeling into what you just said and appreciating God in the simple moment and choosing life in every way. And I was just going back to, I guess, my education as, in a Catholic society or family, and how, like, it was always about like sacrificing yourself or doing these big things, big show to be with God and things like that. And I had heard about like various near-death experiences because there are a few that are mentioned by the Catholic Church and people that are Catholic, and also beautiful. I think they were made into a structure and a way of thinking that was saying like almost impossible, and that generated even more fear for me because I was like, oh my God, how am I ever going to get there? How am I ever going to be one with God or something, and so like just I guess we're meeting with this work through my twin flame and the learning of unionism, and now talking about how God and life can be in the most simple things. It's, I guess we're circling back to the relaxed feeling that we were talking about at the beginning, and saying like, oof, yeah, this is the truth. Like we aren't meant to do these grand things all the time, maybe to show that we're with God and like grand things. It's just about inside and like appreciating God inside. And I guess what I would say is, if you don't know how to appreciate God inside, you can still try. And for me, it goes with like, as Hannah would say, like just putting a class. Otherwise, I would feel lost until I learned to be with God in that space, and then something else would come up where I would feel separation, and then I'm like, God, what do I do? And so I put another class, and yeah, it's like, it gets me going. It's like my steps in life, and in just doing that, you don't have to be like a master. You just do that, and you realize that every day you're with God, you're walking with God just by doing that, just by being. So yeah, that was my conclusion on that.
It's beautiful. I was raised Catholic as well, and I feel like that really resonated with me, and to realize now that confirmation, and that's a big celebration you go through when you're in 8th grade, and how like those things, they're beautiful representations of our devotion to God, but it's not where it's at, and it's in the true oneness of creation that we all are one, and like it's in like the everyday. And God's not just in the church or Sunday service, he's everywhere. And I love that the teachings of union make that so clear and tangible and logical and beautiful, and for you to be able to really experience God's love through the mere exercise, and to have an actual way to just give yourself a nice warm hug and feel that love in a beautiful, tangible way. I'm so grateful for, and yeah, that's my conclusion for that part.
Awesome. And I feel like that's a great conclusion for our whole discussion, to be honest. How do you feel, Yuri?
Yeah, it was good.
Awesome. Thank you, Hannah. That was great. Like, yeah, and I think it just perfectly allowed us to just settle into the completion of our chat today. So I want to thank both of you for joining us, for joining me, and for the conversation that we had. I also want to thank everybody who's joined us and liked or reacted to our live discussion today. And to anybody that's watching, please feel free to like and subscribe to our Church of Union YouTube channel, where you will find all our previous conversations that have taken place after church tea time, as well as any other live discussions that have taken place in our Unionism Spiritual Discussion group on Facebook. And we look forward to seeing all of you again soon. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.